Could not do a show on Australian forestry without visiting this area, Nick. It's called the Green Triangle. It's in southeast South Australia.
We did some rough calculations earlier, Andrew,
Yes.
and came up with a number of between 50 and 100 million pine trees growing in this particular area. And they've been growing here for 130 years.
It's a lot of trees.
On the border between Victoria and South Australia, the Green Triangle is one of Australia's major forest regions, covering an area of some 6 million hectares. The verdant Green Triangle is home to more than 70,000 hectares of South Australian state-owned softwood plantations, feeding a diverse network of processing operations. It's a forest visible from space and, ironically, the result of a lack of natural timber.
In South Australia there was no good native species, so really early on, back in the 1870s, the government realised that they needed to form a plantation industry and have a look at what they needed to be growing to get some good timber for the state. We're the oldest forest established in Australia.
The pioneers of South Australian forestry combed the world for a suitable plantation species, a decision that seems obvious now but wasn't quite as simple then.
One of their very first tasks was to have a look at a whole bunch of exotic introduced species, and quite early on they chose out California pine, the Pinus radiata, as being the most suitable species for the climate conditions down here in the southeast. I guess it mirrors the Mediterranean climate in the bottom of California.
Over the decades, as the plantations flourished, selective breeding has been used to introduce straighter, stronger trees with fewer limbs and defects.
Be very quiet, Nick, because what we have here are baby pine trees growing up in one of the nurseries in the area. Now, since they've been growing pine trees in this area, which goes back to 150 years, the science of growing them has developed. It's come a long way.
It certainly has. Now, there are no fewer than 2.5 million baby pine trees in this area, and while they're not genetically modified, they are genetically selected. The search is basically for the super pine tree.
One of the most obvious benefits of selective breeding has been the development of faster growing trees, delivering higher yields and a more customer-focused end product.
In the last couple of years we've really shortened our rotation age, and that's two things. One is the mills don't want such big log anymore, and the other thing is that with the increase in technology and the increase in fertilising and genetics, we can get the same size log out of younger age forests.
The high-tech theme continues out in the bush, where contractors and forest managers share detailed data streams. GPS coordinates, LiDAR surveys and production audits are all used to build a complete picture of the forest before and even as it's harvested.
Every tree has a GPS coordinate, and then we send the actual stem file, which is a stem file is the measurements of the tree every 10 centimetres along the tree. We then send that on to Forestry SA, and they can see the size of the trees and the products we're cutting out of all them trees.
So if you're looking for examples of just how highly managed this operation is, you don't need to go much further, Andrew, than that harvester there.
Vic, that thing literally has a mind of its own.
It does.
Not only is it safe for the guy in the cabin, sort of not in the forest, trees don't fall on you, that sort of thing. Once it's chopped the tree down, it measures it into the different products that each of those trees can become.
This one machine is capable of processing up to 600 trees per day. The harvester cuts and marks the tree to the highest value products possible from every stem, and that information is immediately available to Forestry SA to pass on to its customers.
The customers demand that, and we try to make sure that their demands are met. We certainly want to give a good end product so that their market can continue in the direction that it should be going, and that's going forward.
And the timber riches of the Green Triangle have spawned a range of processing facilities. In 2009-10, the Forestry SA plantation estate fed 1.3 million cubic metres of saw logs into the local and export milling industry. There's every chance that the pine timber at your local hardware store or framing your house was grown here in the high-tech plantations of South Australia.
Most of this pine will go for a multitude of uses. Mainly it's cut for saw log, for structural timber. There's also ancillary products. We're still doing some veneer, pulp, and there's a number of these logs go for export out of Portland as well.
The Green Triangle is quite something to see, and this corner of South Australia is home to our oldest working plantations. The high-tech regime is at the cutting edge of forest management, and careful breeding is bringing closer the perfect pine tree.
Each year, Forestry SA produces close to 2 million cubic metres of plantation timber for the local and export market. And the Forestry SA plantations are certified a renewable resource and still going strong after 130 years.
After the break, power poles, those silent sentinels of the roadside, and an I Spy favourite. We find out what makes a good one.